Joining me now, I have the privilege of sitting aside of me here, Mr. Denny Gross out of Maryland. Denny, being one of the key players here in calling this meeting here to the Keystone State here for tonight. Denny, I know you played a very instrumental part in getting this meeting together, along with Todd Fisher and Emmett Holland. I guess this whole thing got started back in June sometime. Late May, early June, Emmett Holland paid a visit down to your garage in Maryland, and I know it was some car owners, some drivers, some crew members. I think it was even some officials from the Cars organization that attended the meeting here, and it was basically an introduction to this 360 series, the ASCS series here. And can you tell us in a few words here what the meeting was about and how some of the things you accomplished at the meeting?
Okay. Well, your kind words there, I think gave me a little more credit than what I deserve. I think I kind of came in the process in about maybe the third inning of the ball game, perhaps. I came home from work one night and had a message from Emmett, and was kind of surprised about that. Didn't really understand exactly why I was getting at, but I think it came back to a couple years ago when I was president of the Cars organization. Had looked at that time to transition the 358 group at that time into a 360 organization then. And I'd had some conversations with Emmett around that time, 2000, 2001, regarding that. And I think he just had my name and phone number handy, and he called me just looking for some help, for someone who knew the area a little bit and someone to help facilitate, maybe look into an ASCS series here next year. You might recall over the winter there had been some talk about some 360 races in this region for 2006, and then all of a sudden it went away and you didn't hear anything about it. And I think Emmett was kind of leading that effort at that time then, had some handshake deals with some people in the area, and when they kind of went their separate ways and thought about it a little bit, the handshake deal kind of fell apart. But Emmett didn't want to let it drop. He feels this is an area that could benefit from his involvement in the 360 series, and he just called me looking for someone to help facilitate the process a little bit, and that's all I've really been doing is helping to facilitate the process.
I'm sure some of the key questions at that meeting at your place back in June are some of the same ones we're going to hear tonight from talking to you on the telephone and getting some of the emails I got. I think the three main things that people can put out there, one being the most important, I think, would be the engine factor of the program, another being the top wing. We had some pros and cons on that, and of course we're all worried about what the purse is going to be for some of these events, where I'm sure all these questions will be answered here this evening. But your thoughts right now on what you're hoping to gain out of this meeting here tonight?
Well, I think the initial meeting was just a look-see to find out if there was interest about it and what their issues and concerns might be. And of course, with the Central Pennsylvania, with the 358 division around here, one of the main issues was how did the 358s transition to compete on a more equal footing with the 360s. And Emmett took that away from the meeting and started having some conversations with engine builders, not only at the meeting that night, but other engine builders he's familiar with across the country, some nationally known engine builders, and looking at how to transition the 358s into competitiveness with the 360s, but not obsolete anyone's investment that they currently have, and make it a stepwise, sensible, reasonable, lowest cost, most efficient transition for those who wish to switch to 360s. Now, I think we want to make it known here that I don't think Emmett's goal is not to replace anybody. I don't think he's looking to replace 410s. He's not looking to replace 358s or 305s or any other organization that might be in the region. I think he's just merely offering another option for the racers in the area.
And I do think that years some of the local teams had here without attending any of the meetings yet, they're afraid that if they don't agree on this, they're going to might as well sell everything, and that's not the case.
I don't think that's the intent. Now, how that plays out down the road, of course, the area track promoters and owners will have a large role in that, because they set the schedules and divisions that they have at their track. So, but I don't think that's the intent here at all. It's just merely to offer another option. If you remember back to what the 358s were when they first started, and I was part of that founding organization back in 1989, it was a bunch of what I'll call future elders, such as myself, who were getting priced out of the super sprint class, but still wanted to race a sprint car. And we tried to put this 358 deal with the Cars organization together as an economy division. And that's what it was at first. But as it grew, what you saw, and as other divisions such as the micros and the 305s flourished and go-karts and so forth, it became more of a stepping stone organization for people who wanted to take their career beyond what our future elders were looking to do. And when I was president of Cars in the early 2000 time frame, I kind of looked around me a little bit and recognized that was the case of what was happening. And I said, well, if that's really what it's going to be as a stepping stone rather than a future elders organization, then we should make it something that meets national rules. And what made the most sense was ASCS, and that's when I had conversations at that time with Emmett regarding transitioning the 358 class into 360s. And cars took a look at doing that at that time. We had some serious conversations. We talked with promoters in the area, and one of the prominent influential promoters of the area, we had some lengthy conversation with him, and he concurred that it was probably the way to go with our division at that time. I'm not sure what his feelings are on that now, but at that time he concurred with our activity to transition to a 360 spec head class. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen at that time, but it looks like it's getting some momentum at this point in time. You'd asked me earlier about the wings. I don't know what the rules for making the 358s competitive with the 360s are exactly set at this time. I know some of the first things that are being looked at is compression, allowing higher compression for the 358s, maybe a little bit of head work that isn't legal right now. But those two things would make up most of the difference that exists between the performance of a good 360 and a good 358 motor at this time.
Well, we certainly want to thank you here for joining us here this evening, and your involvement in racing over the years, not just in organizations but also as a driver. You have a real knowledge of the sport, the cost of it, and certainly going to be an asset to hopefully try to get this thing on the road here and get it going here over the next several months.
Well, thank you for that, and I wish I was racing right now. We're sitting out this year. We're financially strapped at this particular point, but hoping to maybe get one or two races in this year yet when I get my new motor finished, and maybe hoping to team up with somebody and get back to it in 2007 perhaps.
Well, best of luck to you if it does happen this year, and we hope it does. Always enjoy seeing you out there on the racetrack going around there. And good luck on tonight's meeting, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you after it's all over and get your final thoughts.
Sure. Thank you, Steve, and I appreciate you coming over and helping out the process in this regard. Thank you very much.
Mr. Danny Gross.